Welcome to DarkWoods Paranormal, brought to you and produced by Unbox Media LLC. I am your host, Gabriel Von Graves, and alongside me, the enigmatic Raven Knight. Together, we journey beyond the veil of the ordinary into a world where reality meets the supernatural. Each week, we guide you through tales of the relentless spirits, shadowy cryptids, and conspiracy theories that challenge what we think we know. Whether drawn to folklore, urban legends, or forces that have haunted humanity for centuries, DarkWoods Paranormal offers stories that captivate and disturb. Stories that might just keep you awake at night. So listen closely as we explore the secrets buried in shadows. Step into the darkness with us. This is DarkWoods Paranormal. Let the journey begin.
As we were just talking about Dustin Pari's arms. I had to do it right then, you know.
Of course.
Well, I mean, you do have nice arms. It's the obvious
Thank you.
lift.
I love the gym. It just brings me mental clarity, a little bit of peace, and it feels good, and also helps to compensate for all the garbage I eat all the time.
Yeah, good for you, man.
Okay. Everybody, this is Raven Knight, and I'm here with Gabriel Von Graves, my co-host. And, you know, tonight we have an extra special episode of DarkWoods Paranormal. You might know our guest today from Ghost Hunters, the original Ghost Hunters, and also Ghost Hunters International. He is also an author and a motivational speaker, which we will talk about a little bit later. And, you know, he's dedicated his life to exploring both the supernatural and the human spirit. Whether he's chasing shadows in the world's most haunted locations or inspiring people with his words, he brings his energy that is absolutely unmatched. And you know what? Can we all just give a warm welcome to Dustin Pari?
Yay!
It is my pleasure to have you. We're so excited that you're here, Dustin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both so very much. I'm happy to be here with you. This is awesome.
It is awesome.
Yeah.
I want to start by saying we actually met you at Missouri Paracon.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, Gabriel, we were talking a little bit before we started recording this, but we met you at Missouri Paracon. We were, you know, we both have been fans of you for a very long time. But one of the things that we noticed right away about you, and I knew that you were, you know, you had a couple delayed flights, some suitcases were missing. I know that the hotel made you move at some point. But you showed up and you had the absolute best personality. You had you were so friendly and kind to everybody who came up to you. And you were just the best person. I mean, we could see you from our booth and we were like, wow, you know, you must be having a terrible day. But here you are just smiling and being amazing. So I just wanted to start by saying that when we met you, it was not only did we meet somebody that we've been a fan of for a long time, but we met somebody that, you know, just has this amazing personality. So I just want
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you both very much. That means a lot to me. And indeed, it wasn't the easiest day. There's multiple delays and problems and planes that took my bags other places. So it was weird because I text the guys running the convention. I'm like, I'm happy to come down and hang out my table, but I have no merchandise. Like, if people just want to come talk to me, they can, but you know, which I don't mind. But I just didn't want to look like I was unprepared. But I was like, I don't have anything until whenever stuff shows up. But they were okay with it, and I was fine with it. Like, you know, whatever. I'm happy to just hang out, take pictures, and talk with people. So yeah, we do what we can. But thank you very much for that. I appreciate that very much.
Yeah.
So, Dustin, your journey is in the paranormal field has been deeply intertwined with your faith. Mm-hmm. How do you balance your belief system with the unexplained phenomenon you encounter?
Yeah, that was, you know, kind of the key for me with agreeing to do the show, Ghost Hunters, back in season 2 when they brought me in. I was part of the home team for a while. I was like the original fanboy. Like, I watched the show, kept bothering them until I got on the show because, you know, as a local guy. And I've been so thankful to everybody within that organization I get to work with. Amazing men and women. Got to see so much of the world. But the thing that was most important to me was I thought the paranormal was a great opportunity to have discussions about people's faith. You know, it's weird, our reality especially today, like you don't discuss religion, you don't discuss politics and some other nonsense. But it's like, but if we can't discuss things, that just weakens us as a people, as a
I
society.
agree.
Like,
I agree.
yeah, like it's good that we have different opinions. It's good that we see things differently. We just have to gauge, each other accordingly and be respectful. Like you don't have to like the same things. Like it's good that we like different stuff or believe different things. And religion's one of those things. And I kind of feel like, the old adage that it's kind of like, two blind men on opposite ends of an elephant, just feeling their way around and trying to describe this creature that seems completely opposite, from the trunk unto the rear end, but it's the same thing. And I've always felt that way about religion. Like I'm a Christian. Took me a while to find my path. I went to Catholic school, all that stuff. But then when I graduated, I was like, I don't know if any of this really means much to me. And then I studied Buddhism and Taoism and just hung around, finding my path in life, which I think it's a natural thing. It's our spiritual journey. And I found my way back to Christianity. I like the relationship portion of it, but I thought the paranormal could be that gap, that bridge over that gap, rather. No matter what you may believe or what you don't believe, if you start seeing evidence of the afterlife, if you start seeing images, if you start hearing voices that you can communicate with, object manipulation, I thought this was something that could be very special and get people to find their common ground and be like, okay, there is more than this. Because there has to be more than this. It can't just be freaking sitting in traffic and driving to work and hopefully make enough money to keep the lights on and buy mozzarella sticks. Like there has to be other stuff. And I thought the paranormal was a nice opportunity to get people to think about those bigger picture things.
That's a great perspective, man. It really is.
Thank you. It's only gotten stronger. It's only gotten stronger the more I've done this work, which is over, I don't know, 32 years or something now. I lose track. But I've been to 27 countries, 6 continents, 47 states doing investigations. And it never ceases to amaze me. Even like some people I know just get kind of callous and they get kind of numb. Like, oh, all I got was, a couple of EVPs and some footsteps. I'm like, that's still freaking awesome. Like, it's still amazing, and you don't always get those, but sometimes it gets kind of run of the mill, I guess. But to me, it just strengthens my belief system more in understanding. I don't need anything to prove anything to me at this point. I just do it for the fun of it, the love of it, and hopefully to try to bring this understanding to other people.
I love that.
Fantastic.
Okay, I wanted to actually touch on, we were talked a little bit about, your growing up, and I wanted to, of course, touch base with how you got started in the paranormal. I do know that you saw a shadow figure when you were younger, and I want to kind of talk about how that led you to where you are, and that eventually led you into ghost hunters. I also know that you, from what I understand, knocked on their door a lot and pursued them. So if you could talk a little bit about how you got started, or how the shadow figure kind of led you down this path, and then to ghost hunters.
Yeah, sure. So I was just about 9 years old, living in my childhood home in Providence, where I lived most of my life, from like when I was 7 to 17. And it was a night like any other night. I got in bed, and I was always a boy of routine, like I'd watch my Star Trek reruns, I'd make my pasta, I'd get my homework done, and like go to bed after that. And when I looked up, like something felt a little off, like the room seemed a little weird, felt a little cold. And as I looked up in the doorway, which there was a hallway behind it, completely lit up. It's a small house. My parents are awake in the living room. It's not that late. And I see the shadow figure. Now, today I can classify it as kind of like the basic humanoid shaped shadow figure. But as a kid, I'm like, what the hell is this? And I was terrified. And that stupid little bowl cut down to here, and I pulled the covers up over my head, and I'm like saying every prayer I learned in school. I'm like, I never, ever want to see this damn thing again. And when I pulled the covers down, it was gone. And then I got home from school the next day and kind of look around and look under the bed, look in the closet, and it's like, nope, nothing here. And night after night, I look, nothing there. It never comes back. I was like, good, I never want to see it. And then I spent the rest of my life looking for them. So as one does. But I didn't know there were groups. Like I used to work for a local CBS and Fox News affiliate for several years. And I got to healthcare. And I was always like the ghost guy. Like I'd take people out into it sounds creepy now, but take people out into the woods to abandoned buildings and things. And again, don't go do that now. It's very dangerous. But as a young kid, I didn't know, so this is how I would try to get access to these places and look into it. We had this great place called the Old Lad School that closed down in the 90s. As I got older and went there, I would just take people out looking for this stuff. And it was one night I'm laying there in bed, and I see these plumbers walking around somebody's house with all this gadgetry and cameras, and they're looking at orbs. I'm like, what the hell is this? And then I see in the B-roll the Warwick City Water Tower. I'm like, that's like 5 minutes from my house. And so I caught another episode. I went on my computer and went to the TAPS website. Like I emailed everybody I saw on the show and people I didn't see on the show. I was like, tell my story. My gateway goes to the shadow figure. This is what I want to do, and this is what I've been doing. And nobody ever got back to me, time after time. And I would go down because they were in Apponaug, which is a small part of Warwick, and it was next to a Chinese food place, a little alley. And I'd go and like everything was always locked, and you'd knock and nobody'd be there. And they had a little mail slot you could look in, but nobody was ever there. And eventually somebody emailed me back, and I got to meet up with them. And then I met Jane Grant at a coffee house, and they said, listen, you can be a part of the team, but you can't be on the show. And I was like, that's fine. Like, I already have 2 jobs. Like, I want access to people's houses. I don't want to be chased out of the woods by cops anymore. And several months after being part of the home team, they asked me to be on the show. And I never committed full time because I was working in healthcare. I'm like, well, healthcare is solid. TV's fun, but who knows if it's going to last, So I was always kind of like, I can work when I can, but if I've got the day job stuff, I got to do that first. So they were always really cool with me, though, and working my schedule. And I maintain a great friendship with all of them today. So I'm thankful for all of that. But it's opened up so many doors for me, and I've got to meet so many people because of it and do my other life's work with all the motivational things. And it's all because of that one little shadow figure. That's why I tell people, because like, oh, was it evil? Was it an alien? Was it a time travel? I'm like, I don't know what the frig it was. I don't even care anymore, because that was that one seed that put me on this whole other path. And I feel like, who knows? Maybe it was me from the future being like, hey, stupid, look into this. And here we are.
I love that.
I'm a strange boy.
No.
That's okay. We're all strange. Don't worry about that.
Wonderful, wonderful thing.
So you've spoken a lot about mental health and personal growth.
Mm-hmm.
How has the paranormal field shaped your perspective on life, morality, and the afterlife?
Well, I've learned that we're all screwed up, and that's okay. This human experience, I always tell people, like, we're spirits going through human experience. I don't believe us to be from here. I don't think we stay here. But I feel like while we are here, we should be looking after each other, lifting each other up, loving each other, crying together, laughing together, growing. And I think that some of us get that and some of us don't. Maybe that's why some people have to come back. Maybe you get a choice to come back. I'm not really sure. I don't want to come back. I'm kind of tired. And I'd like to just kind of lounge around on a cloud and eat mozzarella sticks, but I'm not sure if that works. But I've noticed that, we're all beautifully broken. And the more people I've met world over, I feel like there's this shared thread of human experience of pain, which is a natural part of growth. I think sometimes we're so afraid to change. We're so afraid to grow. We're so afraid to take that chance to change our situation that we just sit kind of stagnant, and because it's easier. Right. And it's easy to acquiesce to that storm and not get up and say, you know what, this is going to hurt me for a little while, but this is what's going to be better for me when I get down the road, And so I often use the adage of like looking at a stained glass window in an old church. It's all like broken different shards of glass and colors and things, but it makes a beautiful picture altogether. And I like to think that when we get to the end of this human experience and we look back, we'll see it as that big stained glass picture, that all those little roads that were broken, all those hardships that we had to endure, all the struggles, all the scars, all the bruises, all of this stuff was just part of the experience. And it had to happen in order for us to sometimes, as my good friend Tim Shaw says, a wonderful medium and psychic from Buffalo, New York area, sometimes the universe kicks you out of the nest when you grow too comfortable. And I think that's a very smart way of putting it. And we don't realize it there, but in retrospect, like, oh yeah, that's why this had to happen, that had to happen, So it's just part of our growth cycle, I think.
Oh, I love that. I'm actually curious, like, how you went from doing, like some paranormal investigations and ghost hunters to becoming a motivational speaker. How did that transition to one another? And also, I do know that you sing every night. You could probably sing us a clip. That'd be okay.
Sure. So if you remember a little thing called MySpace, back when people were nice to each other on social media.
Yes.
Or nicer. I was on Ghost Hunters International at the time. I'm overseas. Sometimes entertainment, especially anything in English, was limited. I used to bring a bunch of DVDs with me, and I would have my own little lineup of shows that I would watch on like my off night. But then I would, check out the Taps message boards, the Ghost Hunters message boards, and write back and forth to fans of the show. And I would go on MySpace, and a lot of people would send in photos and that kind of stuff. And it's always tough with pictures people send you because if you've not been in the place, you weren't there when the photo was taken, you don't know the person. It's hard to say one way or another what any of this stuff is. But I would try to at least answer people back. But then it went from that kind of stuff to people writing to me about very serious matters in life. Self-harm, cutting, ideas of death by suicide. And I was like, this is like some heavy stuff. And I had lost some friends over the years, and I just don't want to see anybody else have to go through that pain. It's very hard being a survivor in that type of situation. And I never belittle or say anybody was weak that ended this journey that way, because I know how tough this human experiences can be, but I would never encourage anybody to take that way out. So I realize I have a very small platform, but I can try to use it for the best way possible. And so I dedicated myself to suicide prevention and trying to help people with their mental health. So for many moons now, I've ended my social media with the phone number for AFSP.org, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I've done some fundraisers for them. I've done one of the overnight walks with them. And there's been some great people that I've met over the years that have told me that they've reached out and it's been very helpful to them. And, it's a very personal thing. Sometimes people come and share those stories with you, and it means the world to me to even have just been somebody to post that number. I tell people, if you see it, retweet it, share it, whatever you can do, because you don't know, but somebody might be struggling with it. It might just be, that light that they need to help them through. And then I started talking at middle schools and corporations, and doing just different motivational lectures. I had a little YouTube series called Hey, Got a Minute, which I have a whole nother season that we filmed, but I've just never edited because life is busy. But those are up there on my YouTube channel. And I started just this year doing like across my social media platforms. I just do a quick 1 minute random video based on whatever's on my mind from the day. And yes, it does. It does start with a song. It goes about 7 seconds long. 7 seconds long. It goes a little bit like this. Coming at you live like I do every night from the heart of the Phantom Zone. And that is adapted from an old George Jones country song called Radio Lover. Which is actually a sad song about a radio DJ who finds his wife with somebody else, and I think it ends in a murder-suicide. But I changed the beginning to instead of from the heart of your radio, I added in the Phantom Zone because I like comics and superhero movies and weird stuff like that. So listen, nothing's ever going viral. I'm not making any money off it, but it just means a lot to me that some people watch it, and maybe that message will help somebody. And I mean, what's it do? It takes me about half hour every night to, I record it usually in one shot because whatever comes up comes out with me. I just say whatever's on my damn mind. Only record if I get interrupted by my daughter or one of the cats. And then I upload it, put the subtitles, and then share it to all my media before I go to bed. That's pretty much what we do.
I love
You
that.
definitely are. You're definitely a solid dude. You really are, Dustin. It's phenomenal, man.
I'm completely screwed up, and I've got a lot of issues myself, and I've done a lot wrong over the years too, but I'm trying to do the best with what I got,
Good for you, man. Hey, what's one paranormal experience that left a lasting impression on you? Not because of the fear, but because the way it changed you see the world.
It's weird now, and this isn't like a bravado statement. I don't get afraid much in the field, although like pop-out things still scare me, and I won't go to if I have a say in it, I won't go to like haunted attractions. I hate pop-out scary actor stuff. I don't like horror movies. I don't like any of that crap. But the cases that have meant a lot to me over the years. St. Augustine Lighthouse was the first time I'd seen a full body apparition.
Yeah, I remember that. That's cool.
Shadow figure. Yeah, that was that was the first real thing since the shadow figure I saw as a kid. All the times out stomping around the woods, old buildings, I never really saw anything. But then to have that moment, I was like, oh, okay, this is like really real. Like it's actually, because you start to doubt yourself. Having experienced for a long time, you start to wonder. So that was very important to me. Case we did in the Philippines, Clark Air Base, the only case I've ever done where everything told to us, all the experiences told to us, one of our team members or another either had experience or documented throughout the night. Only case that's ever happened. It was active every night we were there, which is also very rare. But for me, I did, I still do. I mean, I do a lot of lectures, I do a lot of events. But for a while, I was doing a college circuit kind of thing in the fall. You do like an hour lecture, a little song and dance, and then you do, an hour investigation. And I was doing one here in New England. And the kids that hired me to come up there, it was like part of the drama club thing. And the lecture went fine. Everything was cool. And then when we went to go do the investigation, it was only for the kids from the drama club. It wasn't for usually they limit it to like 30 or 40 kids. This was just 10 kids. And the building we had to go into was a very small little place. There was some stories, not a lot of signs of anything going on. But, again, sometimes, you guys know, it's just quiet. It is what it is. And I was using a little ghost box thing. And the way I run my ghost box sessions is very, very specific. Working with my friend Brian Cano, I feel like I've kind of honed a really good way of working with it, asking very specific questions in very specific ways so that we don't go down this it becomes like an audible, like Rorschach test at some point. We just want to hear things. So we're listening for things that we think should be there, but not with the method that I use. And I like to let everybody take a chance and ask a question because different energy, vibrates differently. I believe it's all just energy and vibration, and that's how we see each other. It's how we connect with each other. It's how we connect with our world. It's how we connect with the spirit world. And it just sucked the entire hour. Nothing was happening. All my questions, nothing. Everybody else's questions, nothing. And this one kid, snarky little kid, he goes, none of this is real. None of it. And he's going on and on. I said, listen, instead of just kind of pissing over everybody's good time, why don't you just take a chance and ask a question? And he says, so do you have to do jobs in the afterlife? Like, what do you do there? And I swear to you, I swear to God, this was the most real and clear thing I'd heard on the box. And the only thing I heard that night, this girl comes through and she says, hang out with Jesus Christ. And everybody looks at me as if I pressed some magic button to make this happen. And I'm like, I looked over and the girl's like, what did she just say? And I was like, I'm sorry, can you repeat what you just said? And she's like, yeah, we hang out with Jesus Christ. Got to go. And then that was it. And I was just like,
what?
I was like, what? Actually, she said, hang out with Jesus Christ, God's son. Got to go. And I was just like, and that was it. That was the end of the night. And nothing else happened. I remember walking back to my car and calling Chip Coffee. I'm like, Chip, you're not going to believe what just came over the damn box. And I'm like, I'm the absolute worst at documenting. Like, I don't record my sessions. I don't video anything. I'm just there for the experience. And I just want it to be something special if it's going to happen. Sometimes I feel if we have all these cameras on, all these lights on, it doesn't quite come together. But that one, I was like, man, for me and my faith, it was super reaffirming. But again, I didn't need that. But I was just like, wow, this is remarkable. And that kid's face dropped. And I've noticed it so many times now. There's sometimes the spouse, the boyfriend, the girlfriend, whoever gets dragged to the paranormal convention that doesn't want to be there. Like you guys probably saw some at Missouri. And good for them. They're good spouses or partners that they'll come and be a part of this, even though it's not their gig, But it's usually that person. I remember doing an old bed and breakfast in, I think it's the oldest one in America. It's definitely the oldest one in New England. It's down in Connecticut. And unfortunately, the people that brought me in there, one of them had a little too much to drink. And I was just trying to stay away from that because I'm like, I drink responsibly, but do drink. I just came back from Key West. I drank a lot of their rum. But at an investigation, I want to be the best I can be. I don't want to be 3 in the bag over here. So I'm like, so I was kind of staying away and trying to keep, the people that came to the event with me and focus on what we were doing. And we were doing a ghost box thing, again, getting just jibber jabber, just nothing. And there was this guy that got dragged there by his girlfriend. And we're sitting in the old restaurant. And he goes, all right, fine. Just tell me what this room is used for. And this girl that sounded like a 1990s Valley girl, she's like, duh, it's a restaurant. And everybody laughs. And I remember just seeing his girlfriend slapping him. She's like, I told you it was real. I was like, yes, it's so good. I live for those moments, because then I've seen some of those guys and those women come back to other events afterwards because I never would have believed this until this happened, And I'm like, that's actually at Missouri Paracon, there was a dude I was talking to there, and he was very, very sweet. And he told me privately, what happened on a case we went on years ago at an event. And he just told me how much that opened his spiritual journey and where he is now versus where he was when he first met me and how this has changed the way he looks at the world and the afterlife. And I was like, that's what we're here for, friend, So it was very cool.
That is very cool.
Yeah. Kind of talking about skepticism, obviously you have to have a certain level of skepticism when you're investigating, but how do you handle people who come in and are being very skeptic toward what you're doing?
I totally welcome that, and we should always have a skeptical mind. We should always think for ourselves. We should never just follow along with all the other tribe. Like think for yourself. It's so important. Challenge what you think to be real, like everything. But you just have to be respectful. Like you can come to one of my events and say you don't believe in any of this stuff. It's all garbage. You're just here because you get dragged here. That's fine. But just don't piss over everything all night. Like just if you want to sit and talk to me about it or ask me questions about it, I will more than happy talk to you about it. But when people are enjoying their experience and trying to have a good time, and all you're doing is putting everything down, like there's just no reason for that. I had a great couple at this event at the Robert the Doll Fest just this past weekend, and we're walking out of our seance time with Robert. And the girls said to me, they're like, we really like coming to your events because we know there's no bullshit. And I was like, oh, like, thank you. Like that meant so much to me. I was like, that's great. It's because sometimes, as you guys know, you sit there and just nothing happens. But I use those times to at least try to entertain people, not with any fake evidence, but just with my own stories and little jokes or whatever. And then also educate, tell them about why some things work, why some things don't work, why some of the equipment you think works one way but actually doesn't, things that can trip up your equipment. So there's always time for education and an experience to be had. Even if it's just learning the history of the building or like learning the history of how Robert the Doll was made this weekend. Like there's just cool stuff that we can still learn, and it doesn't have to be boo scary stuff because I hate that. I will not fake anything. I don't pretend to be scared, and I'm not trying to scare anybody because I don't think the spiritual world should be scary in any way.
How was Robert the Doll made?
Oh, so he comes from the dark forest of Germany. There was two particular trees. One is the Ukiwa, and David Sloan, who's his caretaker down there. God bless him. He went through the trouble of getting some of the wood pulp that is made from those trees that they use to stuff the innards of the doll. From that specific company, and he had it in a box that he had procured so he could pass it around to all of us, so that we could actually feel like what that material was that's inside
cool.
him. And then we were educating the crowd. David was doing a lot about the history of the dark forest and the spirits of the dark forest and the root spirits that are there, the elementals, and talking about how maybe all of that has something to do with why Robert is what he likes to refer to, and I love this description, as an enchanted doll. So many people are afraid of him. And David was trying to tell people, like, you don't have to ask his permission to take his photo. He's like, people run away with this and they're so scared of it. He's like, that's the wrong way to approach this. And I was so happy that he was putting that out there too, and so it was a really nice opportunity for people to get to learn about it in a different way, put away some of the nonsense and the BS they hear all. Because I was trying to advertise the thing online. People were mad at me, like, you can't just put his picture up there. I had to apologize to him for looking at it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's a graphic of a picture, And then I'm there. I didn't even upload them yet, but I was making videos of my own little doll, Mr. Herman, and he was having a great time joking around with Robert, and like we're just having fun. Like it was great, it's good stuff.
Well, a lot of investigators focus on ghosts of the past, speaking of Robert. But what do you think spirits come from the future, or could hauntings in something more complex, like across time?
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. I think a lot of the stuff that we interact with, we don't understand fully. We understand it in context of our experience, which is not wrong. If I asked you to describe something for me, you would have to just use your clues from your experience in this life to tell me what it's like. It's not something that you could explain fully if you haven't fully experienced it. But as far as we know, most of us actually that are here now don't remember being here before, if we were before. We don't remember much of the spirit world, if we were there at all. Some people have like near-death experiences, and they can tell you what they experienced there. But I think we try to fit things into a box that makes sense to us. But I don't think we have all the answers. And I think it's good. I don't think we should have all the answers. I don't want to live in a world without magic, without stories of the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot and Mothman and all that weird, creepy stuff. I love that stuff. I want more magic in this world, And for me, spirit as we know it, the term ghost gets thrown around a lot, whatever, but for me it's all spirit activity, and maybe some alien activity. The ghost boxes, when they were originally designed, were to communicate with aliens. The original Frank's box, he believed he was talking to aliens from other worlds. We're referring to him as the Purple Princess when he would have his conversations with them. I was up doing a case at the old Hinsdale house with my buddy Cody, and we had a small event there, and as we're using the box there, we're being told we're being watched by beings from above. and they kept referring to us as earthies. I was like, this is amazing. Like, this is fantastic. It's not just limited, you know? So, and the idea, I use this analogy a lot too. The idea that maybe, you know, my good friend Mike Ricksecker, and it sounds like I name drop a lot, but it's because I never want to take credit for something that either wasn't my original idea or that I didn't learn more from these people. So it's always good to acknowledge others, you know. Mike Ricksecker, you may have seen on Ancient Aliens and things like that. Great guy. We do a lot of events together. He has a great book about shadow figures, but he has this other one about time. The idea that, you know, maybe time is stacked, you know, and this is his original idea, but he's done so much research with it. The idea that maybe we're running in these parallel timelines, maybe our future selves are still out there. And he even tells a story about a shadow figure case where a young boy growing up was walking down his hallway. And as he looks into the kitchen behind the island, he sees this tall shadow figure of a person. And he's terrified. He stares at it and he runs down the hall. Shadow figure doesn't come after him. He forgets about it. As an older gentleman living in the same house, he's behind the island making a sandwich. He looks up in the hall and sees a short shadow figure stop, look at him, and then run down the hall. And then he remembers he saw this from the other side before.
Wow.
Jay and Grant have a great story of this too on a case that they were at, sitting in this hotel and putting their arm through a shadow figure, only to go back to do another case. And sure enough, one of them is walking through the middle and they see a shadow figure go to put their arm through them. So the idea that maybe we're haunting ourselves, and I don't think that's a far-fetched idea. I don't think, and we don't all have to sing from the same hymnal. Always think for yourself. But I don't think that a loving God or goddess, however you choose to believe, would ever trap anybody here. I know a lot of people get into trapped spirits, and that's okay if you want to believe that way. Again, my experiences have led me to believe that that is not true. I think that a lot of them visit here. I think that a loving God or goddess would allow for that. Of course, we want to check in on our family. Of course, we want to check in on our loved ones. We're doing that now. As we're still alive, we haunt our old past selves. You know, we drive by our old childhood house. We drive by our old school, a place where we first worked, the place where we had our first kiss. You know, I drove by my old house where I saw that shadow figure just a couple of weeks ago, just because it's kind of cool to revisit these things now that we can. So then when you leave this little meat suit that we're running around in, and you could travel wherever the hell you want, why wouldn't you go check those things out? You know,
That's a cool perspective, Dustin. It really is, man.
Yeah,
That's
I appreciate that, man. Thank you both. It's just ideas, you know, and it's, you know, they're not exclusive to me, but these are the ones that, as I've grown and as I've investigated and I've learned and traveled, like these are the ones that I've done a lot of time thinking about and seem to make the most sense to me. To the point that I even in my own life, I spent a lot of time thanking past Dustin for things and apologizing to future Dustin, because I realize a lot of the blessings in my life that come now, you know, even if it's, you know, a little Debbie treat that's been left on my nightstand. So when I wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning, there's something there for me to snack on. I'm like, oh, thanks, past Dustin. And then like when I screw shit up, something that I know I made a mess of that tomorrow somebody else is going to have to clean up, I'm like, oh, future Dustin, I'm sorry. I screwed this up for you. But my daughter says I'm schizophrenic, but I don't think so. And the other ones in here agree. So I think we're fine.
Well, there you go. Hey, cool, man. No problem there. You know?
Yeah.
No, that's an absolutely fascinating like way to look at that. I really do think that I've never would have thought of it that way either. I know that we did an episode, Gabriel did an episode about how spirits and aliens could be the same, could be the same thing, or, you know, timelines. Is there like some sort of crossover in the timelines, or
Right.
you know, things like that. So I love that you brought that up.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, look at us just from an evolutionary like standpoint. I mean, this is maybe a little bit further out there, but like as we are, you know, we look back at like early man, right? Like the bigger, stronger. I mean, you know, we've gotten taller compared to a lot of our ancestors. You know, but like things even in our body, like wisdom teeth and stuff, because I work in oral surgery every day. We're constantly popping out wisdom teeth, you know. But in early man, like our mandible was bigger. Like we had more room for more teeth and we needed them because we're ripping up friggin' dinosaurs. I know we weren't here at the same time as dinosaurs. Maybe we were. Who knows? There's a lot of conspiracy theories and I love them all. But we were eating a lot of raw meat and ripping stuff up. So we needed those extra teeth. So it made sense. But now everything we do is staring at a phone. And not a lot of people at the gym. So maybe we get maybe we kind of get taller and a little more elongated. And our eyes are bigger because we're always looking at screens, and we develop more telepathic abilities because we stop talking to each other. I don't know. Hey, who the hell knows? Anything's possible. But so quick sidebar. talking about telepathic stuff, that's something I tell a lot of people too. If you communicate with spirit long enough time, I think you start to realize that it's not coincidental that you're about to ask a question or you're finishing asking a question. And if you're listening in real time, you get an EVP that gives you the correct answer. Or if you're playing with a ghost box, it's giving you the answers. You're saying your question. And Barry Fitzgerald and I, when we were on GHI, we were in Denmark. I think it was Dragsholm Slot was the case. And I don't think it ever made air. But what we did is we sat there. Yeah, it probably didn't because it was quiet. We sat there with a notepad, an EVP recorder, and tri-field meter. And we would think of questions, write them down, and then write the time code next to the EVP recorder. And we would take turns doing that, giving time for them to leave us an answer. And we went back, and indeed, there were times where the EMF, the tri-field meter would have gone off, and we would check on that time code, and we would have a correct answer to a question that we never verbalized. So I think a lot of our communication, even with the spiritual realm as we know it, is actually nonverbal. We don't need to say all the questions out loud, and we can still get correct answers. And I've seen it more times than not to know that it is quite true.
Well, that's cool.
Wow.
I like to do weird new stuff, man.
That's awesome, man.
That is interesting. You have talked a little bit about some of the people that you have worked with, and I want to know, like, you kind of mentioned how they've changed some of your perspectives of things, of course, but I want to know, like, who were some of the most inspiring people that you have worked with in the field?
John Zaffis, I think, has to get like top accolades. John Zaffis, a lot of people know him from Haunted Collector. They knew that he was Ed and Lorraine's nephew. He's a Connecticut guy. He's not far from where I am up here. And I remember the first time I met Zaffis, we were actually investigating, at that time, what was known as the Sootcliffe Farm. Now, because of Hollywood, is known as the Conjuring House. And that was the first time I met Johnny, like 10 years before that movie ever came out. We're investigating that place together. And I had heard about him. I had heard about Ed and Lorraine Warren, but I never thought I'd have a chance to work alongside him and to sit there with him, like under the learning tree. And he's just such a regular dude. Like, he wasn't like pompous or overbearing or anything, you know. And we've become really good friends. We're doing an event together at Gettysburg, not Gettysburg, at Fort Mifflin coming up. We have another one him and I are just going to announce up in Massachusetts. We've become really good friends, and I've learned so much from him. And a lot of it just comes down to, I think the thing I took away the most from him is, besides the knowledge of how like actual possession works, unlike the crap you see on TV and in movies, and also to acknowledge the fact that it's very rare and not nearly as common as crap on TikTok wants you to believe. I'm not bitter. I'm frustrated with the fact that people only believe what they see, and what they see is garbage, and they just swallow it up. I'm like, no, that's not. I just want respect for the spiritual world, and it just bothers me that people get led down the wrong path, you know. But the thing I really took away from him is the approach. When I do my communication sessions, whether it be Ghost Box, EVP, or whatever it is, it's always respectful and just like having a conversation. I hate the interrogation portion, you know, like you're working them over under the lights. You know, give us the sign of your presence. Tell us why you're here. By the way, do you know you're dead? D. Perry's least favorite question. I would say, you know, we all saw this in a movie, and then we thought this is a question that we need to ask them because they don't know that they're dead. I'm like, they haven't had a bowel movement. They've had to go to work. They haven't paid a bill. Nobody's probably gotten laid in a long time. They've realized some shit is wrong, you know. But this is an idea. Alexandra Holzer, who I like, her father Hans being the icon. I read his books growing up. To work with her and to learn the Holzer method of communication, and to work with her in a case was fantastic. Chris Williams, still one of my closest and dearest friends today. I love her because she is a no nonsense, no BS girl. And sometimes she'll even be like, we were doing an experiment recently that I picked up from my buddy Brian Cano. Brian is one of the brightest guys you meet, and I don't think he gets nearly the accolades he deserves from it. But we were doing these experiments together when we worked together a lot about a year or two ago on this Pathways little traveling show we were doing. But we'll get people together. And this ties into, so I do this, I did my little sidebar I never even got to before. I do these events called Spirit Quest. They're like 15 or 17 people or less, depending on the location. And it's all about our spirituality guiding us to connect to each other mentally. We do consciousness experiments and how all this relates to the spiritual realm, because I believe that we are more powerful than we are ever given credit for. And I think that even in the older times, we were less tech dependent and more spiritual. And, you go back to the spiritualist movement, which I know there's a lot of nonsense with fakery and stuff, still is nonsense with that fakery today. But if we continue to look upon just the negative, we'll throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, okay, all this stuff is just nonsense. And it's not. There is some real stuff in the paranormal field, in the spiritual field, but people always want to make a quick buck off it. And sadly, they see bereaved people as weak, and it's an easy mark for them to make money. And I hate that. But there's this idea that, we can communicate, like I said, telepathically, that we're able to bend spoons and those kind of things. I get to go visit the Ryan Institute down in North Carolina. And Brian and I were doing these experiments where you try to imprint a word onto a recorder. So we'll get 10 or 12 people in a circle, put the recorder down, let one of the guests pick the word. This way we know that, no one's doing anything fake. Because it'd be easy to be like, oh, the word's going to be bagel. And then you pre-recorded it, put it down, you wait, play it. People don't think about the fact that people are trying to rook them. But there's a lot of people in this field that are just taking people's money, and I hate it.
Absolutely.
So we always let one of the guests figure out what they want the word to be. 2 to 3 syllable word, something simple. And so I was doing an event with Chris Williams. We did a 2-day event, one in Mass, one in Connecticut. And we let this guy pick the word. He's like, fire truck. And Chris is like, what are you doing? I'm like, we're all going to sit here. Think about the word. The word's going to be on the recorder. She's like, that'll never work. I'm like, no, it's going to work, right? And she trusts me. So we sat there, and sure enough, like maybe 10, 15 seconds into the recording, when we played it back, you hear fire truck. And we're like, what the hell? I'm like, you guys are more powerful than you believe. Like, this is something we can do. And Brian and I have done it a bunch of times. He's done it a lot of times solo, as have I, and we've seen it work more times than not. Now, of course, there's still this question. Is spirit that's in the room hearing what we're saying and like, let me help these stupid mortals out and throw that word in there? Possible. But I really think it's plausible that it's us that's actually imprinting some of those things, which led to a double-blind experiment that I did with Elizabeth Saint in the House in Between Two. We did this documentary style investigation for Steve Gonzalez. I love Steve too. Another one of the best people I've worked with. Learned a lot from him in being skeptical and critical of the evidence. As Steve always says, the harder you are on the evidence, the better the evidence will be when it's real. And I think that's the most important
Absolutely.
thing. Because the power of belief is strong. We want to believe, which is great. But you can't want to believe to the point where you'll just believe anything, because that's like highlighting an entire textbook. Like, nothing's important at that point. So we're doing this case for Steve, this house down in Mississippi, and Elizabeth Saint and I are there. She's brilliant. Love that girl. And we do a series of EVP questions, very conversational, like Zaffis does. And we realized, though, after we asked all the questions, all the answers were correct. And problem being, we knew all the answers. What street is the house on? What's the item that gets thrown down the stairs? What's the name of the woman that lives here? We know those answers. She's thinking them. I'm thinking them. We want them to be on the recorder. The camera operator is thinking them because he knows the answers. So who's to say we're not the ones putting it on the damn recorder? And so we had this conversation on camera. I believe it made it into the documentary, because what followed up was going downstairs and asking the woman who lives there for 5 or 6 playing cards. Hand them to me so we couldn't see them. And then I held them up behind my back to a camera that was unmanned. So nobody was looking at the cards. Nobody knew what was on the cards. Camera operators on the other side just filming us. He can't see the cards either. And Elizabeth would ask, what color is that card? What number's on that card? Is it a face card? And the damn thing got everything right. And we're like, okay, so it's not us answering these questions for sure. In this case, it is spirit that is somehow communicating, whatever it might be, is seeing the cards and can answer. And the best part was when we showed this to the woman that lived there. She's a sweet elderly woman. She's like, so does this mean it can see me, like, even in the shower? We're like, yeah, but I don't think they're into that at that point. I think they're probably okay. But yeah, there's so much more fun stuff for us to do out there. And I feel like a lot of the field gets kind of cookie cutter. People don't try new things. So my part is to try to show people new ideas, new experiments, or even like dust off, some old things and bring it back. Because there's so much stuff that you can do. And no one needs to own any part of this. Like, it's good to share knowledge, to grow together, try new things. It's not like, don't tell anybody what you did here and don't you do it yourself. Like, no, go do it. Like, have fun with it.
Yes.
So if you could have a conversation, Dustin, with anybody in history that has passed, who would it be?
Anybody? So, oh my God, this is weird. I was just thinking about this yesterday. Like, again, I'm a Christian, so like I want to be like, well, Jesus, but like mortal, actual living mortal that had no God like within them. I've always been intrigued by Simon the Cyrenian, who was the gentleman pulled out of the crowd by the Romans and forced to help Christ carry the cross.
Yeah.
And I always thought that had to be mind-blowing at some point. Like, at first you're probably like, what the hell, why am I going to do this? Like, I was just watching this. But then, like, to see what you were a part of and to see what happens at the end of the story, like, that had to be life-altering, you know? And I don't know, maybe I'm putting all my eggs in one basket and the guy would be like, nah, I didn't think anything about it. I was just pissed I had to do it. But I kind of feel like there had to be something really life-altering there. And just an iconic figure in history, at least to my religious understandings, that I've always been really intrigued by. So that would be it. If I could have two.
You can have
Elvis
two.
Presley. I'm an Elvis Presley man.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's got to be the king, man. I love the king.
Bob Joyce, brother, he's still alive in Arkansas, man. I mean, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard that conspiracy theory.
Yeah, he'd be 90. Although I do have that CD, and I do have pictures side by side of like the half face of each one of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Now this is very special to me. I'm going to show this to you guys.
Okay.
We love special things.
And it's only right here because I can't bring myself to do what I want to do with it, which is to mount it in a frame with a picture, because I need this. A couple of years ago, my wife and I have 3 kids altogether. She was married previously, so I have 2 stepsons. I treat them like my own, love them like my own. And then we have our daughter together. And daughter's getting ready for college now. It's kind of breaking Dad's heart, but this is what it is, you know. The youngest of the 2 boys was getting married several years ago. And I had to bring my wife and daughter down in the morning and get their hair and makeup done and all that stuff. So now I guess I'm time to kill in between, you know. So because you're a guy, you're just gonna put on the monkey suit and go dance. You don't get all primed. So I come back here and I'm hanging out here at the house, and I'm on the phone scrolling through, and I see an ad for a rock and roll auction. I'm like, oh, what the hell is this? And it said Elvis Presley jumpsuit. I'm like, oh, I got to check this out. You know, it was out in California, this rock and roll auction. And they had Presley's a Madison Square Garden jumpsuit. And it was like the bids were already in like, you know, the 20s and 30s of thousands of dollars. I'm like, there's no way. I'm like, oh, we find something else. And they had other musical artists in there too. And then I saw Elvis's cufflinks. I'm like, oh, like $15. I can bid on that. You know, like reality TV money isn't much, you know, but I can afford $15. So I bid on the cufflinks. I get outbid. I'm like, yeah, you know, and it's got the letter of like how, you know, they were given to this girl when I was out in Vegas. I'm like, well, cufflinks are cool. I'm like, but what am I going to do with them? I'm like, what else do they have? And I continued to scroll, and then I saw a listing for Elvis Presley's comb. And as a boy who loves doing his hair since I was a little kid, once I get rid of that bowl cut, I was trying to feather it back like Lorenzo Lamas in Falcon Crest, but it would always just stand up. So I get stuck like this. But like Uncle Jesse from Full House, Sam Malone from Cheers, like these were my icons, you know. I was like, I want to have good hair. And Elvis Presley's comb. And so I bid on it. And then it went higher. And then it went higher. I'm not going to say how much I paid for it, but it's a little more than I was comfortable with. But at the same point, I was like, Elvis Presley's comb. And now the auction still has like another half hour, and I'm waiting outside the church to walk down the aisle with my wife, you know, to be seated. And I might keep checking the phone. Like, where the hell's it? Where's it at? Do I need to bid again? Like, you know, I get the upper bid. And as we get to the end of the aisle, I hear the ding notification, and I look, and I won it. Elvis Presley's comb. And Elvis Presley's comb comes with 2 letters of authentication. I had already messaged one of the radio DJs at Sirius XM Elvis Radio to make sure it was real, because I was like, if anyone knows, they would know. And like, yeah, there's one of his housekeepers there. She was gifted the comb by his family member when he passed, and they knew exactly which one it was. It's a metal rat tail comb from the 70s, because one of the teeth was bent at the end. I picked this up at FedEx, and I couldn't even get out of the parking lot. I was like, I need to do this.
Yeah,
I need to do this so much. And so I keep it here. I can't mount it under glass because when I have a bad day, I'm like, this is Elvis's comb, and I can comb my hair with it. It's like a power item, you know. So, but my dream is to maybe bring this to Graceland and try to do an EVP session, and see if I could use this as like a contact item, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
that.
There's attachment between a comb and a man, you know?
Yeah, there's something special
Yes,
about
it's magical, brother. It's magical.
this. Yeah. So
Dustin, man.
You should do that. I say do
Yes.
I
Do it.
don't they
I'll
don't
be
allow
lucky
for
for that.
such things, although I do know someone who has once investigated Graceland, including the upstairs, which is
Oh, that'd
where
be cool, man.
they were seen on camera and told to leave. Although they were originally invited there by security and housekeeping staff, John Zaffis. And yeah, he's actually showed me photos. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So
That's cool, man.
yeah. Zaffis' wife is a huge Elvis fan, so I always bust Johnny's balls. I'm like, Johnny, you're getting older. I know everybody wants something from your haunted museum collection, but all I just want is all your wife's Elvis stuff.
You're a good guy. You really are, Dustin.
Hopefully you get it.
God bless you.
You guys are very sweet. I appreciate you.
You know, I just have another, I guess, one more question on my end. Just,
Sure.
you know, what would you tell people who wanted to get into the field of the paranormal, or, you know, do their own ghost hunts, that kind of stuff? Being someone who's been in the field a long time, you could tell us some tips and hints.
Keep it super simple. Don't go out and spend a paycheck on equipment. You don't need a ton of stuff. Everything you need is right in here. Like I always say, if we're spirits going through human experience, we're not from here, we're not staying here. We don't need to have technology to connect to spirit. We're spirit to spirit. Like that should be the most natural thing. And I feel like we often will write stuff off now. We write off dream visits. We write off interactions that we have. We write off signs that we've been asking for. And when we have them, we're like, oh, it's circumstance. I don't believe a lot of that. I think that we are very strong. We're very capable. If you want simple tech to document or to try to get an EVP, pretty much everything you have is on your phone. It's got a camera. It's got a video camera. It can record audio. I've heard EVPs just from those live action photos that you hold down for 3 to 5 seconds.
Sure.
You can do it on there. You don't need to go buy the Panasonic DR60, which is only really good because the shielding on it is garbage and it picks up kind of radio signals, which ties into the theory that we use with the ghost boxes. An audio engineer that I worked with recently told me, he's like, I talked to somebody else in the field, and he's like, we kind of took it apart and looked at it. He's like, it's just really poorly shielded. He's like, your Panasonic didn't pull it off because you're talking to dead people. It's because it's picking up fragments of radio sound. But that ties in with how it works for us, for sure. But you're not going to spend $4,000 or $5,000 on that. You could get several Elvis's combs for that. It doesn't make any sense.
Absolutely. And that's much more important, man.
For sure. You know, but like keep it really simple, keep it honest, keep your want and your need to believe in check. Because just like I share with you about what Steve says, if you're going to be honest about the evidence, if you can say, I really want this to be something, but I also know that at that time there was a truck driving by. At the time I knew this was going on. Right. You have to throw the evidence out. No matter how good it is, you got to throw it out because it could have been something else that spoiled it. So when all the circumstances are right and you get that little holy grail, whatever that might be for yourself, you don't have to use it to prove it to anybody else. It just has to be meaningful for you. This is a spiritual experience. It's a personal experience. Don't let other people piss all over your parade and tell you it's garbage or they don't believe. That's fine. They'll find out in their own time. Eventually, we all pass away and we're like, oh, wow, this is real. It'll be great. But until then, just keep it simple. Keep it honest. Don't do anybody any harm in doing it. Don't do any harm to yourself in doing it. Don't break into places illegally. There's plenty of books out there that you can learn a lot from. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe all the negative shit. This is a demon, that's a portal. The gloom and doom that goes on in this field. I tell people, right? That's the one thing when I do my events. I tell them, listen, never ask, do you know you're dead? Because I will ask you to leave my event. There are no refunds, and do not go down a gloom and doom path. Especially in the unfortunate case, which we do a lot of, with horrible murders and tragic suicides. People, are you in pain? Are you sad for what you did? No, like they've moved on. this stuff has happened to them and they are in a new place. Nobody wants to be reminded of their darkest moment or their last moment or mistakes that they've made. Like, they've moved past that. So we need to speak in a positive way, always looking for love, always looking for light, raising that vibration. Like, I don't know when the hell I became a hippie, because I never thought I would. But I do so much stuff now with like vibration therapy, sound therapy. I play this stuff at my events. I do circle of light, circle of energy experiments. And I just feel like this stuff is kind of where it's at. And it just makes you feel better in day-to-day life. I mean, how the hell else could I have 6 delays, 2 canceled flights, lose all my bags, lose all my merch, and still be like, hey, it's okay, I'll be fine. Because I'm not participating in the low-level crap. And that doesn't mean I don't have my bad days, but I'm just not going to let nonsense ruin it.
Brother, I thank you very much for joining us at DarkWoods Paranormal. You're a great dude. You really are, man.
You guys are very kind.
You got
It's
a
been
cool
an absolute
pool, man.
pleasure.
I mean, who else has that?
Who else has that? Who else is a
Dude.
paranormal investigator, motivational speaker, and owns Elvis's comb?
Nobody, man. Just you.
No one I know of. No, honestly, though, you guys you're very kind. I appreciate your kind words about meeting me at the Paracon, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you guys tonight too. And I hope I see y'all on the road somewhere. It just means a lot to me to be able to share some of the things that I've learned over the years, or things I've thought I've learned. Because again, you have to be able to evolve your beliefs. And 5 years from now, I might learn something new that makes some of the other things I just said now completely irrelevant or wrong, and that's okay. That's part of the journey. And season 2, we looked at dust orbs, and we're like, spirits. Look at all the spirits. And I'm like, that's not spirits, stupid. But when I was younger, that's what I believed.
Yeah. I was going to
Well,
say,
thank you.
we did get really lucky to meet you at Paracon, and we've heard from a lot of other people that you are one of the nicest people in this field. And I can say right now, you really are. You have been just a fantastic person to talk to. I feel like I could talk to you all day.
I love to chat.
Your time is very valuable, but you are running all over the place. Before we sign off, can you tell people where they can find you, maybe some things you have going on,
Sure.
and what's coming up for you?
Very easy to find me. The website is just dustinpari.com. That's Pari. All my events are listed there. We're going to be down in Texas for Paracon. This weekend I'm off. It's my first weekend off in 5 weeks. So I'm very excited. But I'll be down in Schertz, Texas with the Kling brothers and a bunch of great people. But the Kling brothers put on this wonderful charity last year, and they're doing it again this year. So I'll be there in 2 weeks with some amazing people like Miss Heather Taddy, who's another one of my favorite people to work with because she's weird and likes to have fun like I do. I didn't get to say the names of all the people I love to work with. So nobody was omitted because I don't like them. My brain is all over the place, but I love working with her. So we're going to be doing that. One of my closest friends, Miss Chris Williams, we're doing these Rebellious Spirits event. We're going to be at My Haunted Manor over in Pennsylvania in July. We got Parapsychon coming up at the old Ohio State Reformatory. We're going to be doing we're getting the band back together. Steve and Tango and John Zaffis, Chris Williams, and myself going to be down at Fort Mifflin in Pennsylvania. I got 21 more events. I have to go update my website and do another contract and graphic right when I get done here. So yeah, stay tuned to dustinpari.com. Check out all the events there, all my weird motivational videos and other happy nonsense. If you like that kind of thing, check out my coloring books and my other books. Whatever the hell you want, I'm trying to just make people happy.
Well, you made
Again,
us
once
happy.
again, thank you, brother. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you, guys. God bless you both. Thanks for your time.
Well,
God
thank
bless
you
you
for
too,
your
brother.
time, Dustin. You've been amazing. So
Thank you.
thanks for popping on with us.